Hey, this is Mr. Molo for the 2.1 lesson of writing and graphing inequalities. So chapter 2 is pretty similar to chapter 1. In chapter 1 it was all about equations, and chapter 2 is all about inequalities. So let's talk about inequalities for a second here before we start. So we have a couple kinds of inequalities. So we read inequalities just like we read in English, so we're looking at it from left to right. So from left to right here, it's small to big, so we're going to call this the less than sign. And then you see this one also has a less than sign, and it has that line underneath it. So this is called a less than or equal to sign. And that pretty much means that it just includes the number that we're talking about. So if it says like x is less than 5, that's numbers like 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, all the negative ones. And if it says x is less than or equal to 5, that means it just includes 5. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Kind of the same thing if we're going this way. Now you'll notice that the big side is on the left and the small side is on the right. And we call this a greater than sign. And then with a line underneath it, you could probably guess, is a greater than or equal to sign. And that kind of works the same way. So if I have x is greater than 5, numbers like 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Numbers greater than or equal to 5, numbers like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then when we graph it, they look a little different. So our less than sign and our greater than signs are just going to be regular circles. We do something a little different to our equal to sign since it includes that number. So when we see our equal to signs and we have to graph, we actually have to fill in the circle to show that it includes the number that we're graphing. Okay? So whenever you see a line with line underneath it, I mean it's a filled in circle. So if I look here, the temperature in T in Sweden is at least negative 10 degrees Celsius. So I have T, and it is at least, it's not going to get any colder than negative 10 degrees Celsius. Okay, so I see a line underneath it, so I know I'm going to have to fill in my circle here. And numbers that are at least, so greater than negative 10 degrees, would be numbers going to the right. So I'm just going to shade my line to the right here, put an arrow there so that I know it keeps going that way. Okay, next one, the elevation E in Alabama, so again, make sure we're using the correct variables here, is at most 2,407 feet. So this means that the highest point that you will ever get in Alabama is 2,407 feet. So this one, let's just kind of estimate somewhere between 2,000 and 3,000. Again, we could get to exactly 2,407 feet, so we need a filled in circle. And we're going to go less than here. So we're going to go to the left. Okay. Let's show you what this looks like with all the same ones here. So now, for the next couple, they want us to write out what it would be there. So write an inequality for each graph, then in words describe the values that make it true. Okay, so I'm just going to start with x. Okay, I have a filled in circle, so I know I'm going to put a line underneath it. And it's numbers that are greater than 1. So it's a circle at 1, and I have numbers that are greater than or equal to 1. So like 2, 3, 4. So the way I would write this is x is greater than or equal to 1. Same thing here. I have a circle at 1, except this time it's not a filled in circle, so this one does not include the number 1. So we're not going to put that line underneath it. So technically we're looking at numbers like even like 1.001 is bigger than 1. But if we're just talking about whole numbers, then we're including like 2, 3, 4, and all those. But we're not including 1 because that circle is not filled in. Okay, kind of the same thing here. I have my x, I have my 1. I'm going to the left here, so it's a less than sign. And then I have a filled in circle at 1, so it is less than or equal to 1. Okay, and then for the last one, again, I have a less than sign. I have it 1, so it's going to the left, and so x is less than 1. something I should say that's a huge misconception when we talk about this. Do not think of this as like an arrow of which way you should be going. It's just coincidence that this is pointing to the right and the arrow is going to the right, and this is pointing to the left and the arrow is going to the left. Same thing. It's just a coincidence that it's like that. Don't just always think like, oh, it's going to the left, so it's a less than sign. A lot of kids think that, and they kind of get messed up then later. All right, let's look at some more examples here. So this one, they want us to write it out. So 12 is greater than or equal to 5 times a number n. So 5 times n. And we're just writing these out. We don't even have to solve them today. So we're done right there. Second one, 1/3 of a number h is less than 15. Okay. 3. 7 is less than or equal to, so got the line underneath it, to the difference. Remember, difference is a subtracting term of q and 6. So q minus 6. And then last one like this, the sum of a number, that means sum means we're adding, of a number u and 14 is more than 6. All right. 5 and 6, it's asking if this number is an answer to that equation. So you got to do some math here and plug it in. So if d is 19, so d minus 7 is less than 12. So instead of d minus 7, it told us d is 19. So 19 minus 7 is less than 12. 19 minus 7 is 12. 12 is less than 12. Is 12 less than 12? It is not. If they had an equal to sign there, then we could say it's true that 12 is equal to 12 or less than 12. But in this case, this is going to be a no. 12 is not less than 12. They're exactly the same. All right, number 6. They're telling us that n is 1. So 9 is greater than or equal to. N is 1. So 3 times 1 there. Plus 6. All right, 3 times 1 is 3. 3 plus 6 is 9. So I have 9 is greater than or equal to 9. And this is one, kind of the opposite, number 5, of yes is true. 9 is greater than or equal to 9. It is, in fact, equal to 9. All right, next couple ones they want us to graph. So x is greater than or equal to 3. So I'm going to put a circle at 3. I'm going to look. It has a line underneath it, so I'm going to fill in that circle. And I want numbers greater than 3. So numbers greater than 3 get shaded to the right, like 4, 5, 6, 7, all those numbers to the right end up being greater than 3. Same thing here. I have a 4. It has a line underneath it, so I'm going to fill it in. X is less than or equal to 4. So that means numbers to the left, like 3, 2, 1, 0, negative 1, all those end up being less than 4. All right, on the last page here, so I got x is greater than negative 1. So I'm going to put a circle at negative 1. I'm not going to shade it in because it's just a greater than, so we don't need to worry about negative 1 being included here. And I want numbers bigger than negative 1. So numbers like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, all those numbers that are bigger than negative 1 are to the right. And the last one like this, x is less than 1. So I'm going to have an open circle because it's not filled in underneath because we don't have that line. And numbers less than 1 are numbers like 0, negative 1, negative 2, going that way. And the last couple one here, they mix it up a little bit, not like the earlier one we did, where it's the same thing. So I'm just going to start by writing x and 1, x and 0, x and negative 3, and x and positive 3. And really all you have to do is then figure out the sign. Okay, so this one, I have numbers bigger than 1, so like 2, 3, 4, 5. So that is x is greater than 1. Open circle, so I don't need my line underneath it. Here, x and 0, and it ends up going to the left. Numbers less than 0, like negative 1, negative 2, negative 3. So numbers that are less than 0. So x has to be a number less than 0. Here I see a filled in circle, so right away I'm going to put my line underneath it. and I have -3 and numbers going to the right, like -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, 3. So x has to be a number greater than or equal to -3. And then last one here, I have numbers going to the left. I see a filled in circle, so I'm going to put my line there. So numbers going to the left are less than, like 2, 1, 0, things like that. A good way to tell is always to plug in numbers and see if they work. So like if I pretend that x is 0, does that make sense? 0 is less than or equal to 3. That does make sense, and that's good because 0 is on the line. But if I did something like 5 is less than or equal to 3. Well, that doesn't make sense. 5 isn't less than or equal to 3. Well, again, that doesn't make sense because 5 doesn't end up being on the line. So usually picking a number and seeing if it works is a good way to tell if you're on the right track with your less than or equal to sign, or less than or greater than sign.